Hey, it's Dr. Linda Davis, and today I want to run through the continuing table that we've been working on a little bit all semester here and there. Um, I've got my Microsoft example up and running. We did this in class where we had the year, the revenue, and the net income, and that information all came from Morningstar.com under their financials tab for Microsoft. And of course, you're going to be doing your own company, but this is our sample company we're working on. Okay, so we've got it converted to billions, as you see notated here, to cut down on all these zeros. And we want to also add in another formula. We want to do a percent change for revenue, and we want to do a percent change for net income. So I want to run through that formula with you. So we are looking for that change between one year and the next. Okay, so we want to compare, for instance, 2021 revenue versus 2020 revenue and see what that percentage increase happens to be. So let's go ahead and get into that. I'll start off with my equal sign to let Excel know that I'm going to be calculating here. And I want to simply say, the 2021 revenue, and we want to do minus the 2020 revenue to start with. So we're going to subtract those away from each other. So it's going to be a longer formula than this. So I'm going to go ahead and put my parentheses because order of operations is very important with this formula. So we'll have that. So the first step on this formula is subtract to find the difference, which is what we're starting with. Now, number 2 is to add together and divide by 2 to find the average. So on this next part, I'm going to have to put a division sign there because this is the second part of the formula. I'm going to add them together. Now, obviously, I need kind of order of operations going on here as well. So this time it's going to be, in my case, C9 plus C8. Like we said, we're going to add them together. Include that also in its own set of parentheses. But it also said we're going to add them together and we're going to divide by 2 to get that average. So I've got another little division sign there and divide by 2. Now, because of order of operations, I'm going to have to include another set of parentheses. And remember, you should always have an even number of parentheses. And the third step is to divide the answers of both sides. And that's why I went ahead and put in that division symbol right there. I am dividing one side of the equation by the other side of the equation. And I'm just focused on those 2 cells only. Now, I want to make sure I've got an even number of parentheses. I've got 2 here, I've got 2 there, and 2 more there. So that's all an even number of parentheses. My next step would just be to hit the enter key. Now, if I did want to go ahead and put it in percentage form, I could just say times it all by 100. But I'll just use Excel formatting tool to do that. So I'll hit enter, and it immediately pops up with 16% because I already formatted this for percentages. If it was just a number, your first time around, you may just get a number that looks like that. And so you want to format that. Since we're talking about percentages in this column, you want to format that for percentages. There we go. Now, if you want to add a decimal to it just to see where it comes out at, 1 or 2 decimals should be fine. Now, once I have my formula correct in this first row, I can always drag it down and have it reflect what 2022 versus 2021 percentage increase or decrease looks like. So let me scroll down with that. I'm just dragging that formula down. If you missed that, I just and placed my mouse and got the skinny plus and just drag that formula down so it will reflect, in the other cells. And that doesn't look right. Oh yeah, we don't want this bottom one. So we'll zap that one because it doesn't have a 2025 value to pull into itself. So that's why we want to leave that area blank. So I'm going to just kind of gray that out so the audience knows not to expect any values there. Now, let's just double check, make sure it did what we intended, and just look up at the formula bar, and I can always hit F2 on my special function keys to reveal that formula again. So yes, that's what I expect to see there, of course. let me look here. C10 minus C9, which it did. C10 plus C9 divided by 2. Yes, that's what I wanted. Let me escape to get back to what that value turned out to be, which is 16.5. Let me look at this one, F2. C11 minus C10. C11 plus C10 divided by 2. Yes. Okay. And 2024 revenue versus 2023 revenue says 14.5%. So let's look at that. Yeah, so that all looks good. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on the net income percent change using the net income figures that we already have. So let's do that same format again for that formula. So let me jump over. And remember, you're not starting with the first year. You're starting with the second year minus the first year. So that's going to be D9 minus the 2020 value for net income. Now, that needs parentheses around it, so let's do that. D9 minus D8. Now, we know we're going to divide one side of the equation by the other, so I'm going to put another division sign there. And then we're going to go in now and add both of those together. So it's going to be D9, D9 plus D8. All right, and then I want to put parentheses around that. But remember, this is the one we're also going to divide it by 2 so that we can get the average. So to do that with order of operations, I'm going to put another set of parentheses around all that. So as far as order of operations goes, just remember, you want it to do what's inside the very inner parentheses first and then work its way out. Okay, so that looks right. Let me hit enter. And that gives me 0.32, which I'm going to format and say, give me a percentage with that, please. And if I want to extend out and increase decimal, I can do that. And now I want to drag that down so it will reflect in the other cells. Remember, I'm not going all the way down to 2024 since there's no 2025 values. And let go there. And what you may see that got exposed, basically, is that, they had a year that net income wasn't so great. Even though revenue was good, net income was negative 0.5%. Okay, so that stands out, which means that 2023 versus 2022, there was a decrease in net income. So, but then things got a lot better between 2023 and 2024 at 19.7%. Okay, now the last thing to do on this is just to format it. So I need some borders. So I'm going to have a thick box border. Let me go to the border tool under the home tab, and I'll say thick outside borders for that one. I'm going to highlight the column headings and put a bottom border in there. And I'm going to also shade those column headings. So I'll highlight them again with my mouse and go to the fill color and change that to just a gray. So that looks a little better like that. And of course, stop and save. And that's my Microsoft example. Of course, you're going to be picking from your 100 publicly traded companies and doing that same process with that. So best of luck with that. Thank you for your time.